So 12 rounds out of all the WWE Studios straight to DVD releases, I think is probably one of the better ones and one of the best out of a bad bunch. Because the action is on point and I do think it is a good film. I'm not saying it's one of the greatest films ever. I'm not saying it's one of the greatest action films of all time, like on a Speed or a Die Hard levels. But it does a job. And let's be honest, he did a better job in this than he did in the whole of Fast and Furious 9.
Are you sure about that?
Yep, I am damn sure about that. As the story follows Danny, who at the start of the film is pursuing the guy called Miles after he sees a car which he is a bit suspicious, and he finds out it's Miles' girlfriend, opens the boot and there's Miles, and he is in a full-blown pursuit, and then a traffic accident happens and his girlfriend is killed. And suddenly Miles then points a finger at John Cena's character Danny because he was the one who was pursuing Miles at the time. Fast forward a year on, he's been in prison now, but now breaks out of prison to get his revenge on Danny by kidnapping Molly, who is Danny's girlfriend, and puts Danny through 12 rounds of fucking torture just so he can get his own back, and put him through suffering like he wouldn't believe, and put him under immense stress just to get Molly back. And that was, for me, just a good plot line, because then Cena's character had to go through 12 rounds, and in these 12 rounds something mad would happen and he would have to face up with those challenges, find out how to solve it and whatever, and try to save the people involved. And I think it was just a great idea, because not only was he thinking about his girlfriend in Molly and wanting to keep her and protect her from this absolute lunatic, but he also wanted to keep the public safe at the same time, so he was battling both two issues there. And this is an action film, just has everything from cars crashing into each other, the fucking train going off the tracks a little bit, and him jumping out of a window. These are all the things that happen in this particular film, which are just action point and brilliant. And I think throughout the rounds, they just get more brutal and harder for Danny. And that is what you want to see. It's not going to be an easy ride for Danny in these 12 rounds. This is meant to be a revenge angle, and the whole film is based on this revenge angle. Obviously, though, this movie doesn't have great character development, unfortunately, because you have one thing in main center stage, and that is between Danny and Miles's weird fucking rivalry that stems from the start of the film to right at the end of the film. It is all about their fucking rivalry all the way through the movie, which doesn't give much time for much character development other than theirs. And funny enough, this isn't the only time John Cena has had to carry a film or make things more interesting in that film.
What are your talents, Fred?
I'm a good singer.
No!
Ow!
See what I mean? Fred actually exists, and John Cena made that film actually tolerable. And to think as well, this movie actually had a plot twist. Who would have thought an action movie has a plot twist? Oh yeah, this one does. And it is so subtle and such a small thing that if you're watching for the first time, you would have never seen this coming. And in my opinion, this just blew my mind when I watched it for the first time, like thinking, oh yeah, Miles's revenge plot is actually a whole ploy just so that he can steal 100 million of uncirculated cash. In which was such a smart idea, because whilst everything was falling into place with these 12 rounds of this being his revenge angle to in the public eye, it was actually behind the curtain whilst he was going around doing these 12 rounds and causing ruckus and causing a lot of distraction, if you must. He was sneaking in there and stealing the money and then getting away from these different places, and that he was always one step ahead of Danny, and that is what made this movie interesting. And the fact that most of the rounds were so unwinnable, and it came out at the end of the film that some of those rounds were always rigged so that he would always lose those rounds, and that certain people would always be killed or certain things would always happen because the rounds were so unwinnable and were meant to be unwinnable, so it bought him some time to go into what he needed to do to be able to steal the 100 million in the first place. And to me, that was just a fucking bonkers thing, and that just showed why that part of the film is what makes this film quite interesting and different from other action movies. The ending, we're obviously going to get to Danny coming out on top, because you're always going to have this sort of like superhuman action fella that's going to take on the entire fucking world to do what he needs to do. Like in Speed, it's the main guy who then stays on the bus, tries to get everybody off and whatever, and then, you know, does what he needs to do to save the day. In this film, he was the same. He was doing everything to save the day. I think he jumped onto a helicopter. He was fighting with Miles in the air and saving his girlfriend in the process. And he and his girlfriend jump out of a fucking helicopter into a swimming pool, and that's the end of the film, killing Miles somehow in the top of the helicopter, which was just a great ending to the movie. And for me, just one of those where it went, know what, that weren't actually that bad to say it was a WWE Studios movie. And just to remind you again, just to say it twice because it is that interesting, that was a WWE Studios film, and probably the best one they ever released. Before we jump back into this video, guys, please do us a massive favour and smash that subscribe button, because you do not want to miss a thing this week, next week, and the week after, because we've got tons and tons of content planned for you guys. And you can do us a massive favour by smashing that subscribe button, joining the community, getting updates to all the latest videos, from the YouTube shorts to the actual videos. It is well worth it, completely free, and you will not regret it. So to summarise 12 rounds, then I think this is easy 7 out of 10, no more, no less. And I think that you need to comment down below and let us know what your thoughts are. Is it good, bad, terrible, amazing? Have you heard of it before? Have you never heard of it before? Let us know all that jazz down in the comments down below. And if you want to check out more action movie content, check out our Expendables 4 movie review right now.